Welcome to the Anonymous Andrew podcast, the YouTube version. So I popped on here. It's been some time since I've been on YouTube, and frankly, it's because, oh gosh, so many reasons. Full-time job, running the podcast. I'm up to 60 episodes now. And then more importantly is YouTube is a whole world unto itself. Uploading a video, well, it can be just done in a matter of moments. It's all the editing and the graphics and the images, and I just don't know how to do it. And if I took some time out to learn it, but I don't have the time. However, I have somebody that's going to show me. In the interim, which means that by the time you see this, you might see some graphics because they're going to help me do that. And actually, you know what? I'm going to give her a shout out. Raquel Adolphson. Raquel was a guest on my show. Oh gosh, maybe 2 months ago, give or take. I don't know. Raquel and I did an interview on gaslighting and narcissism, and some other issues. If I could find the episode number, I'll put it somewhere. If she could show me how to do that, I'll tell you to go listen to that episode. Well, so I'm wrapping up season one. Season one was all about this past relationship that I left, 2.5+ years of being gaslit, lied to by a narcissist who cheated on me, who turned out to be a prostitute, high-paid escort type prostitute, leading a double life. And I'm not calling her out on it. I took responsibility because I knew about a year in, I found out about it. And of course, in a typical gaslighting fashion, she talked her way out of it, telling me that I was paranoid. Doesn't matter. If you know what gaslighting is, and if they're good at it, a gaslighter, they'll make you question your own sanity. And that's what I did. Because I had pretty much hardcore evidence. I had somebody look into it, and I was presented with the specifics of what she was doing. Anyway, 60 some odd episodes later, after season one is winding down, and the whole season was about why. Well, first of all, how I got into this unhealthy relationship. The woman was unhealthy. I'm not healthy. I got issues. I live with bipolar disorder. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm a serial codependent. I chase relationships. I chase women. I chase love. But I can't sustain a relationship. So I have my own issues. But this woman had a different set of issues. Trauma from her childhood, trauma from her adulthood, a self-esteem image, and yada yada. So, but I don't point the finger at her. I gravitated towards her in the beginning because of the trauma bonding. If you don't know what that means, it's in my podcast. Fell in love and thought she was my soulmate, and I found out about a year into, like I said, what she was up to, and I got talked out of it, and I stayed. But the red flags kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. Disappearing acts and vacations that I couldn't go on with her. She was either dating other men or going on to see clients around the country, sex clients. And I knew this. We all have an intuition. Some of us are in tune with it more than others. My gut was telling me that she was up to something. And yet, every time I tried to establish a boundary, every time I tried to confront her with it, I was manipulated into thinking that I was crazy. When the whole thing blew up in October of 2022, and I won't get into the details, but it was a pretty big crescendo. It kind of just blew up one weekend. And I walked away, and of course she walked away. We kind of both walked away from each other. She, I guess, was, in my opinion, she knew that I was onto her finally, and she just didn't know how to stay in the relationship anymore and keep hiding the secret. Me, I walked away just knowing I wasn't going to tolerate this anymore. But I became a broken man. Anyway, so I jumped on this podcast, and I tried to research everything about this relationship and myself and why I stayed and why. And I had guests on about narcissism and gaslighting and infidelity and people who wrote books and people who are life coaches and romance coaches and dating coaches. And there were some doctors and therapists that came on. I had a plethora of guests. And what it came down to was I needed to take a step away from dating and stop, because what would happen after every relationship that ended, either I left or she left, I would get right back on the dating app or find somebody in the wild, as they say, and start a relationship all over again. Maybe 2 months in between. No time for grieving, no time for processing, and just start the procedure all over again, the process. And then a year and a half later, boom, it's over. And then I would start it again. This went on for so many years, almost decades. Of course, my alcoholism had something to do with it, but I did get sober in 2015, so I'm 8 years sober, but I haven't changed. The pattern is still there. So a couple nights ago, I jumped on and did a solo episode. I ran into an old friend of mine couple weeks ago. We met, we connected on Instagram, and it's a woman that I dated 10, 12 years ago, and we were friends, and then we were romantic, and then friends, but there were times when we weren't in each other's lives for many years, and we reconnected. We went to the beach, had a great time, but she, at the beach, asked me, she also listened to the podcast, she asked me if she could be open and honest with me, and she basically called me out on my behavior. And so she was listening to the podcast, and she knows me from the past, and she knew what happened in this past relationship, and she gave me some really good, solid advice. She said, you broke my heart, you hurt me. So I had to make amends to her, because I did. She was in love with me, and I was not in the same frame of mind or space that she was in. So I walked away, or I was pursuing somebody or dating somebody else at the same time. Well, I don't remember, but I hurt her. I hurt her badly, and she let me know that. And we're it looks like our friendship is going to blossom, and we're going to become friends again. We're supposed to go to the beach this weekend, and I'm very grateful for that. The point I'm getting at here is that I've stayed single since this last breakup. It's close to 10 or 11 months. I am on dating apps, but I'm not. If anything, I'm on, and I know this is going to sound like a cop-out. Season 2 is coming up in September. we're going to be focusing on dating, all aspects of dating. We're done with the past relationship. I've researched it. I've dissected it. I like in the beginning episodes, I said, I'm going to do an autopsy on this relationship as if it was like a corpse. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to look into it and see where the damage is and try to repair that damage. And the number one thing that I found with all these guests and interviews and soul searching and therapy and sponsorships and support groups was stop getting into relationships. Take some time off. You know, I'm in my 60s, young 60s, but I have this clock ticking in my head like I don't have much time left. So of course, naturally, I'm thinking I want to find that somebody. I want to retire with that somebody. I need that somebody in case I get sick, or if they get sick, we'll have proxy with each other, health proxy. I can make a long list of reasons why I should be in a relationship now, but I don't have to do it right now. And that's what I'm learning, is that I need to take a step back. Because if I jump into a relationship again, it's while maybe I've healed a little bit, I haven't fixed what's broken inside here or inside here. Okay, I'm not whole again. I don't love myself. I don't respect myself. And they tell you, you can't love somebody else unless you love yourself. You can't be a 50-50 partner relationship unless you can bring a healthy 50% of yourself to meet them halfway. I can't do that. Not now, anyway. So, I've been getting feedback on the podcast, comments on Instagram, emails, direct messages from various people, and the one theme seems to be that they don't really care so much about the story, about this last relationship, which I have another point I want to make on that. They like the fact that I'm vulnerable and that I'm honest and I'm open and I talk from the heart and I don't bullshit. I come out and I say it like it is. And I tell you what's going on inside my head and in my heart. And it's not pretty sometimes. See, there goes that thought. I had another thought there. Don't get old. Yeah, there was another point I was going to make. And I was talking about vulnerability. Oh, well, if it comes back, do another video. All right, folks. Anonymous Andrew here. Just telling you that please listen to my podcast. This is what, see, came back. When I left that relationship, I felt very alone. And I felt as if I was the only person that had just been gaslit and cheated on and manipulated. I felt very alone. And I spent 3 months locked up in my apartment. Yeah, I went to work, but I came home and I just shut down until I got this brilliant idea to start a podcast. The thing was, the breakup was in October of 2022. I didn't start the podcast until end of February, March 2023. So those months in between, I was an absolute mess. A mess. But the point is that since the podcast has been released and all 60 episodes are now out there. I am finding out that I am not the only person who went through that. And of course, that's a dumb statement. Of course, the amount of people that are relationships and marriages today are just not like they used to be. Between what's going on in the culture, politics, how social media is influencing our lives, it's amazing anybody can get into a relationship and sustain it and make it work. There's just, the odds are against you. Especially if you find or date or fall in love with an unhealthy partner. And I'm not judging anybody because I am unhealthy myself, but I didn't gaslight. I wasn't selfish. Well, that might not be entirely true, but I'm not a narcissist. I didn't cheat on her. I was so loyal to her. Anyway, so there were many people came forward and shared their stories. Many, like I had quite a few. Okay. Yeah, I was about to wrap this up. Anonymous Andrew Podcast. I am on Apple. I am on Spotify. I am on Pandora, iHeart, Amazon, Google. I have my own website, anonymousandrewpodcast.com. I am everywhere. Just Google that name. You got to put podcast in there because there's a couple of anonymous Andrews out there. But Anonymous Andrew Podcast, Google that, and or just type that into your podcast platform, and you will find my show. And I'm not making money on this, folks. This is not about money. I'm not making money on YouTube. I don't have sponsors. This is all done with the money coming out of my back pocket. I'm actually losing money in doing this. But you know what? I'm not spending it on a girlfriend. The podcast is my girlfriend. All right. I'm dating a podcast. Okay. You get the point. The idea is that I'm trying to help people. And if you're in that rut, if you're in a relationship or you're starting one and you see red flags and you're not sure what they are, or you see them, but you there's a whole genre and bunch of stuff that you can miss in a relationship. There is all these hormones going on when you first fall in love, and the phrase "love is blind" can't be more true. You are blind to the other person's faults and character defects, and while everybody has faults and character defects, it's to the extent and how they affect your relationship, like disappearing for a week to go sleep with another man who's going to pay you thousands of dollars to do that and not tell your boyfriend that that's what you're doing. It's a character defect. You know, if she sat me down and said, hey, I'm a high-paid escort and I could sustain our lifestyle, but I have to disappear once in a while, but I make $10,000 a month. No, I would not have stayed in the relationship, but you know what? It would have saved her and I 2.5 years of pain, of suffering, or just wasting those 2.5 years of our lives. So, I doubt she's listening to this, but if you are, had you told me, we could have ended it early, and you go your way, I go my way, and whatever. All right, check me out, guys. Anonymous Andrew. And season 2 is going to be a whole different direction. Okay, we're going to get off her and off my my pain and my research, and we're going to dive into the modern dating world. The dating world today has changed so much from 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and even since the pandemic. We're gonna talk about dating pre-COVID, dating post-COVID. It has changed the landscape of the dating world. Anyway, we're going to talk all about that. Season 2 will be about dating. So if you're single and you want to learn about dating apps, online dating, offline dating, dating coaches, meeting people in the real world. One quick story. This happened a couple times. I was at the supermarket, and this is going to sound made up, but it's not. I was in the produce aisle, and I locked eyes with a beautiful woman. And the body language that I was reading was that she was interested in me. I'm almost embarrassed to say this. I didn't know what to do. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, in 5 minutes, I would have had her phone number. Because I was confident, maybe drunk or high, which helps. I'm not recommending that. But I had game. And I'm not talking about cheesy pickup lines. I was smooth. I was charming. I was able to walk up to a woman and start a conversation. This past weekend and the weekend before that, and as a matter of fact, I did it tonight. I went to Amazon Fresh, and Kohl's was next to it. I had to drop something off at Amazon, and I went to buy a new pair of sneakers at Kohl's. Both stores, there was a woman, two different women, that in a split second, I would have been all over her with them. There were two different women. I froze. I don't have the confidence. Maybe I don't know anything about them. I don't know if they're married or single or in a relation, but I would have found out if I approached them, but I didn't because I didn't have the confidence. That's a whole story into itself, and that's all part of the podcast episode, season 1, all the 60 episodes. So, all right, I'm rambling again. That's what I do. Hopefully, Raquel, this is, guys, I want you to check out Raquel Adolphson. She's on my podcast, and if not, she's on Facebook. God, I just don't have it in front of me, but we will put it somewhere on here because she's going to help me edit this, and I do want to give her credit, and I want you guys to check her out because she's a coach, and she's fantastic, and she's my new friend. So, Raquel, thank you. And, all right, that's it. All right, folks, Anonymous Andrew signing off and saying, hey, listen, if you're going to make a choice, if you got to make a choice, please choose wisely. Ciao.